My name is Rowan Vale, and I'm 32. I work as a mechanic, hands nicked, nails short, a crescent of grease that lingers no matter how long you scrub. It's not glamorous, but things that run because you made them run will always feel like a private kind of miracle. My family doesn't believe in miracles that don't come with a deed. The dinner invite came with that cheerful vagueness my parents use when they're about to be cruel. Mom texted, "Come by at 7. Important." Dad never texts. He signs his silence like a document. Emily, my younger sister, their favorite myth, posted a boomerang of a wine swirl with the caption, "Family Night." I stared at it too long. Their house smelled like lemon oil and disapproval. Emily was already perched at the table, chin high, the kind of expensive sweater that tells you not to touch it. Dad flipped a newspaper like the world still prints its respect on paper. Mom clattered dishes a little too loudly, auditioning for busy. "Wow," Emily said without looking up. "You actually showed. Took the night off from oil changes?" "Mom said it was important," I said and sat. Dad folded his paper with ceremony. "It is. We're dividing assets." Emily's face lit like a stage. She already knew. Mom turned to her with a softness I've only ever worn secondhand. "We're giving you the beach villa, sweetheart." Emily gasped, hand to chest, an actress winning an award she wrote for herself. "The one in my—" "Yes, honey, it's yours." I blinked and waited for my name to find a noun. "And you, Rowan," Dad said at last, flat as a stamp, "we're giving you the parking lot." Silence. The word echoed like a joke crawling under a door. "The what?" "The old lot on 8th Street, Mom said, airy. It's land. You can figure something out." Emily burst out laughing. "Bright, brittle. Oh my God, that's hilarious." She tilted her glass toward me. "At least you'll always have a place to sleep, under the stars." Dad chuckled. "Been empty for years. Hey, maybe you can open a lemonade stand." Mom sighed, sprinkling fake encouragement like parsley. "Rowan, you always say you want to build something for yourself. Now's your chance." A memory arrived uninvited. Me at 16, walking in, covered in shop dust, waving my first paycheck like proof I could carry weight. Emily was whining about a new car. Dad didn't look up. "Gonna smell like oil the rest of your life, huh?" Mom smiled at Emily. "At least your brother's useful. Maybe he'll fix your car for free." They bought her a BMW that week. The smell of lemon oil didn't cover the scent of that lesson. I curled my fingers on the chair until my knuckles went white. I didn't yell. I don't anymore. "Okay," I said. Mom frowned. "That's it? No thank you?" "Oh, I'll make something of it." I stood, my chair legs whispering against tile. I met Emily's eyes. "And when I do, don't come knocking." She smirked. "Can't wait to see what you do with a slab of concrete." Dad muttered, always so dramatic. I left without dessert. In the night air, the cold felt honest. The parking lot on 8th looked worse than my pride remembered. Cracked asphalt veined with weeds, a rusted pole holding a sign that gave up on itself. It wasn't nothing. It was a dare. "You can sleep under the stars," Emily had said. Funny thing about stars, they look like holes punched in a dark roof. Light wants out. The next morning, before the bay doors rolled open at the shop, I was at City Hall pulling numbers. Permits for food trucks. Hours, electrical, sanitation, music. If this was a slab of concrete, I'd make a constellation. By noon, I'd sketched a map on the back of an invoice. Trucks along the north edge, string lights zigzagging like a stitched wound, long communal tables, a small stage, a chalkboard wall for kids to draw on. The math was ugly, doable, mine. I asked the bank for a small loan. The bank said no with a smile. My boss at the garage, Art, a man whose hands know honesty, said yes without one. "Pay it back when the lines are long," he said, and handed me the check like a vote. For 3 weeks, I lived on coffee and cardboard cuts. I ordered banners and bulb lights, welded seating frames out of reclaimed pipe, scrubbed the asphalt until it smelled like rain. I called every truck with a line and a generator, tacos that taste like a decision you're glad you made, smash burgers with onions that hiss like gossip, coffee, churros, vegan bowls for people who use the word nourish and mean it. The night we opened, I stood by the gate in a jacket that remembered other winters. Daniel showed up at 6 with portable heaters and the kind of smile that says, "I believe you even when I'm scared for you." He kissed my temple. "You did it," he said. "Started it," I said. "Doing it is longer." By 8, the line looped twice. A local blogger posted a reel, a musician messaged to ask about the stage, A neighborhood mom asked if we had high chairs and then cried when I said yes. The bulbs hummed overhead like a blessing. Someone wrote Val's lot in chalk on the side wall and drew stars around it. I didn't ask them to stop. At closing, my phone buzzed with a notification I didn't want to see. Sabrina, Daniel's ex, had reposted a photo of the villa with the caption, "Some people get gifts, some people get lessons. Both are blessings if you have character." She'd tagged my mother. Of course she had. I turned the screen face down. The asphalt radiated stored heat through my boots. 2 days later, Mom arrived wrapped in her expensive coat, looking around like she'd stumbled into a yard sale. "So this is what you've done," she said, wrinkling her nose at the crowd enjoying their dinners. "You gave me trash," I said mildly. "I made it work." "This isn't a real business," she sniffed. "It's a phase." "A phase with a payroll," I said, "and a permit wall." As if summoned by the scent of attention, Emily rounded the corner, stopped dead, and watched 100 people spend their fake money. "What is this?" she snapped. "A flea market?" "It's called Successful," I said. "This is a joke. It's not real money." "Tell that to the line." A few customers clapped without meaning to. Emily flushed. Mom cleared her throat. "We're concerned. It doesn't seem stable." "Like a fully furnished beach villa you didn't earn?" I asked pleasantly. Emily cut in fast. "You can't sell this. It's family property." I laughed. "Now it's family property? When you dumped it on me like a dare, I must have misheard the word family." Mom's smile returned, thinner. "Well, if it's doing so well, perhaps we should discuss a partnership." I stared. Then I laughed loud enough for the string lights to vibrate. "You humiliated me, gave me a slab, and now that it's a stage you want to cut?" "It's family money now," Emily said, crossing her arms. "You already got your share," I said quietly. "Live with it." I turned and walked into my own noise. People think revenge is the moment someone cries. It isn't. It's the moment you don't need them to. Back in the shipping container office, I laid my hand on the map for Val's lot and felt the vibration of the generators through my skin like a second pulse. They wanted me under the stars. I put them on my wall. Success doesn't sound like fireworks. It sounds like hum, compressors kicking in, laughter from people who don't know your backstory, and the low rattle of tip jars filling. Within a month, the slab they mocked had turned into a small ecosystem. Val's lot had its own rhythm now. Breakfast trucks at dawn, taco lines that wrapped the fence by sunset, live music every Friday. The asphalt that once cracked under weeds now pulsed with light and sound. I should have known the silence from my parents wouldn't last. It broke one afternoon when a glossy SUV parked crooked near the gate. Mom stepped out first, all pearls and perfume that smelled like obligation. Behind her came Emily, sunglasses, latte, attitude, the Trinity. I was balancing invoices on the hood of a food truck when Mom said, "So, this is what you've been doing." "Making something out of nothing," I said, not looking up. Emily surveyed the crowd like a queen fiend inspecting commoners. "You're really charging people to eat on a parking lot?" "They pay to eat. The parking lot is free." Mom sniffed. "It's clever." "That's one word for it." Then Emily's tone turned sugar sweet. "We were thinking, since it's family property, we should talk about partnership." I looked up straight at her. "Partnership?" Mom jumped in quickly. "Well, dear, we never imagined it would become profitable. It seems only fair we share in its success." I laughed, sharp, involuntary. A few customers glanced over. "You gave it to me as a joke, remember?" Emily waved a manicured hand. "You're overreacting. We just want a small share. You can keep your little operation." I folded the invoice, slid it into my back pocket, and smiled the kind of smile people mistake for peace. "You already got your share, Emily. It's at the beach." Her jaw tightened. "You don't have to be nasty." "I'm being accurate." She turned to Mom. "You hear her? She's ungrateful." Mom sighed. "Rowan, honey, family doesn't shut each other out." "Funny," I said. "That's exactly what you did the night you gave me a cracked lot and called it generosity." For a second, no one spoke. Wind fluttered the string lights overhead, making the shadows look like they were laughing for me. Mom pursed her lips. "If this is how you want it, it is." They left without ordering food. For once, I didn't feel small watching their backs retreat. 3 weeks later, Emily showed up again. Alone this time. No sunglasses, no performance. Her designer heels clicked against the concrete like they didn't belong there. "Need a tow?" I asked. She exhaled hard. "I need help." "Define help." She hesitated, eyes darting toward the crowd. "I need to sell the villa. The The market's awful. I'm short. How short? 200,000. I let out a low whistle. That's more than short. That's a cliff. Her jaw flexed. It's complicated. It usually is when people pretend they're richer than they are. Her face went pale, then red. Don't start. Just please. You have money now. I'll pay you back. No, you won't, I said simply. Her mouth opened, then closed. Rowan, I'm your sister. And I was yours when you laughed at me. She flinched. That was different. Yeah, back then you thought I'd never be in a position to say no. Her voice cracked. You're just going to let me drown? I leaned against the taco truck, arms crossed. Emily, you built the pool. I'm not jumping in to save you. Her eyes filled, but the tears didn't fall. You've changed. No, I said. I finally stopped changing to please you. I walked away before she could weaponize guilt. She didn't follow. That night, I sat with Daniel in the half-lit office, watching the security cameras paint the lot in static gray. She came to ask for money? He asked. Half a villa's worth. He gave a low whistle. What did you say? I said no. He smiled. Finally. I thought it would feel better, I admitted. It will, when the next test comes. I laughed. You sound like a therapist. Or a man who's seen your family text chain. I smiled, but it faded quick. Because I knew Daniel was right. Saying no once was a line in sand. They'd be back with a bulldozer. A week later, the bulldozer arrived. Just invisible. One morning, I opened my phone to a flood of one-star reviews. Overpriced, rude staff, smells like garbage. Owner is unprofessional, ungrateful, and doesn't care about family. Would not recommend. Terrible example for young women. I almost laughed. That last one had my mother's vocabulary written all over it. By the end of the day, a city inspector showed up. Anonymous complaint, he said, flipping through papers. Permits might not be up to code. I leaned on the counter. Middle-aged woman, perfume like guilt and Chardonnay. He looked startled. Can't say who filed it. Don't need to. They came for me with pixels and paperwork, thinking they could bury me under red tape. But I'd spent my life under their expectations. I already knew how to dig out. I called my lawyer. We cross-checked every permit, license, and form until even the inspector admitted, you're clean. Then I did what they'd never expect. I expanded. I turned their sabotage into fuel. Weekend markets, live bands, special events. Every fake review was drowned out by 100 real photos tagged Veilous Lot. If they wanted to ruin me, they'd have to scream louder than my crowd's applause. By Saturday, the lot was packed again. Music thumping, lights strung high, laughter bouncing off every surface. As I walked through the crowd, I caught my reflection in a food truck window. Tired, proud, unafraid. They'd tried to give me nothing. I built something so loud they couldn't ignore it even in their silence. And somewhere I could feel it, a storm gathering, familiar and shaped like family. When people say success attracts jealousy, they don't warn you it also attracts paperwork. 3 weeks after the reviews, the city sent another inspector, noise complaint. Then one about seating violations. Then one about grease disposal. All anonymous, all exhausting. Every time I saw that beige city envelope, my stomach clenched. Every time I cleared another inspection, I got stronger. Daniel watched me type late one night, eyes half-lidded from sleep. Still fighting? He murmured. Still winning, I said. I hired a lawyer, printed every email, every permit, stapled them into a binder so thick it could break a wrist. When the next inspector arrived, I dropped it on the counter with a smile. Knock yourself out. He flipped through, sighed, and said, wish every owner was this prepared. I almost said wish every daughter had to be, but stopped myself. The next morning, I saw a headline in the local blog. Val's lot cleared of all city complaints, expands with beer garden. We'd turned their smear campaign into marketing gold. I partnered with local brewers, booked live artists, opened an outdoor craft market on weekends. Lines wrapped the block again. That's when she came back. It was a Saturday night, our busiest yet. String lights glowed, the air smelled like grilled onions and beer, and a jazz trio played near the stage. I was laughing with Daniel when I heard it. This place is a joke! I turned. Emily. Drunk. Mascara streaked. Designer dress wrinkled like regret. Mom was behind her, red-faced, hissing, Stop this, Emily, please! Emily yanked her arm free. No! She thinks she's better than us. Phones lifted. Customers froze mid-bite. I stepped forward. Emily, leave. You're embarrassing yourself. You think you're a big shot now, huh? A mechanic playing businesswoman? She stumbled closer, waving a drink like a weapon. You think you're better than us? I kept my voice level. I don't have to think it. The glass flew before I saw her hand move. Cold beer splashed my chest. The crowd gasped. That sharp, delicious gasp people make when tragedy becomes entertainment. Behind her, Mom screamed, "Emily!" Two security guards closed in, pulling her arms back gently but firmly. "Let her go," Mom cried. "She's your sister." I wiped my shirt, straightened. My voice was calm enough to frighten myself. "Call the police." Emily's eyes widened. "What? No, Rowan, don't." I crouched so only she could hear me. Actions have consequences. 10 minutes later, blue and red lights painted the lot. People recorded discreetly, pretending not to. Emily sobbed, slurred, begged. She looked so small, the first time I'd ever seen her that way. Mom grabbed my wrist. "You're ruining the family name." I laughed once, sharp and mean. "You did that all on your own." The officer nodded toward me. "You pressing charges?" "Yes," I said. They cuffed her gently, read her rights. She cried harder. As they guided her into the car, Mom spun on me, voice cracking. "This is your sister. Do something." I folded my arms. "Like you did something when you gave me nothing and laughed in my face?" She had no answer for that. I turned to my staff. "Keep the music going." When I looked back, Mom stood on the curb, trembling, mascara streaking down to meet her wrinkles. Emily sat in the cruiser, forehead against the glass. I could almost hear her whispering, "You'll regret this." But the thing about regret, it needs permission. And I'd stopped signing those slips years ago. The police car pulled away. The jazz picked back up. The crowd exhaled. Someone raised a drink to me and shouted, "To the boss who doesn't take crap." The lot erupted in cheers. I raised my glass back. "To family values," I said, and took a long, cold sip. The next morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. Missed calls, voicemails, one from Mom. "How could you do this to your sister? She's humiliated. You've always been jealous. You've broken this family." I listened, then deleted it. By noon, a photo was trending locally. Me, standing calm in front of flashing lights, soaked in beer, arms crossed, while Emily screamed. The caption, "Owner of Vale's lot shows what boundaries look like." The comments were merciless, half pity, half praise. That night, Daniel found me sitting on the hood of a truck, staring at the now quiet lot. "You okay?" he asked. "I'm fine." He handed me a napkin. "You're shaking." "I thought I'd feel triumphant," I said softly. "I just feel tired." He nodded. "That's because revenge and peace look similar from a distance." I smiled at that, the kind of tired smile that means you're done explaining yourself. He kissed my forehead. "Then rest. You've earned it." I looked back at the empty tables, the lights swaying in the cool breeze. My chest hurt, but not from pain. It was space, finally space, where guilt used to live. I didn't know it yet, but that night was the pivot. The moment they stopped seeing me as a disappointment and started seeing me as the one thing they could never control. Proof that I didn't need their permission to win. I thought that night would be the end of it, that the flashing lights and mugshots would finally teach them what pride costs. But people like my parents and Emily never stop trying to rewrite a story until they're holding the pen again. A week later, they showed up at Vale's lot. It was early morning, mist still clinging to the asphalt. I was reviewing invoices with my event planner when I saw them by the gate. Mom in pearls, Dad in the same suit he wore when pretending not to be desperate. For years, I'd been the one feeling small in their presence. Now they look smaller than I ever imagined. I let them wait 10 minutes before walking over. "You're back," I said, tone flat. "Lost or nostalgic?" Dad cleared his throat. "We need to talk." "Talk," I said. He hesitated. Mom stepped in. "This isn't about the past." "Oh, it's always about the past," I said. "That's why you're here, because it's catching up." Her lips tightened. "Emily's been struggling. After that night, her reputation—" "She earned that," I interrupted. "We all did, remember?" Mom's composure cracked. "Rowan, please. Your father's business is failing. The house is mortgaged. We need your help." There it was, the word that had always undone me. Help. "Help?" I repeated. "Funny. I remember begging for that once. You handed me a parking lot and called it character building." Dad's jaw twitched. "You don't need to be cruel." "Cruel would be reminding you I made more last quarter than your business did in its best year." "Don't talk to your parents like that," Mom snapped. I exhaled slowly. "How much?" They both looked startled. Dad swallowed. 500,000. I laughed, short and sharp. "You want $500,000 from the daughter you humiliated?" Mom's voice trembled. "We're your family." "Family," I repeated. "The same family that told me to sleep under the stars?" No one answered. I studied their faces, the same mixture of entitlement and fear that had always defined them. For the first time, I felt nothing. No anger, no pity, just distance. I can't help you, I said. Dad's voice dropped. Rowan, please, don't do this. Oh, I'm not doing anything. I'm just refusing to fix what you broke. I turned to leave. Mom's voice rose behind me, sharp and shaking. You ungrateful girl! After everything we... I stopped, turned, and looked at them. After everything you didn't. They fell silent. 2 months passed. The calls slowed, then stopped. I thought maybe they'd finally accepted reality. Then, one afternoon, a banker called me. Ms. Vale, he said, you inquired last quarter about investment properties in the East District. You might be interested to know. Your parents' home has been listed for foreclosure. For a moment, I just listened to the hum of his voice. Then I said, send me the papers. By winter, the deal was done. The house I grew up in, the one where I'd been reminded, day after day, that I was lesser, now had my name on the title. Rowan Vale, owner. When I signed, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt clean. I didn't even have to call them. The universe did it for me. 3 days later, they appeared at my office again. Mom's eyes were swollen. Dad's voice was hollow. You bought our home. I nodded. Technically, yes. The bank sold it. I just happened to make the best offer. Mom stepped closer, hands trembling. Rowan, please, we'll do anything. Just don't take it from us. I pulled a folded contract from my desk drawer, the one I'd written weeks earlier, knowing this day would come. I'm not taking it. I'm renting it to you. Dad blinked. Renting? You'll live there, I said. You'll pay me fair market rent, every month, on time. Mom's face twisted. You're charging us to live in our own home? I smiled. No, I'm charging you to live in mine. Silence. Dad looked down at the paper. How much? I named the number, not cruel, just heavy enough to make them feel every missed apology. Mom's jaw clenched. We don't have a choice, do we? There are cheaper motels, I said. They signed. Mom pressed the pen so hard the nib tore the paper. When it was done, I slid the contract into a folder and stood. Pleasure doing business with you. Dad slumped. Mom wiped her eyes. For once, she didn't have a comeback. I walked them to the door. Before they stepped out, Mom turned, voice small. You really hate us, don't you? I met her gaze. I don't hate you. I just stopped paying interest on your mistakes. A month later, I drove by the house at dusk. The same porch light flickered, the same curtains swayed, but the air felt different, lighter. For the first time, that house didn't own me. I owned it. I sat there for a while, windows down, the smell of food trucks and fried onions still clinging to my jacket. I thought about every version of myself that had been laughed at, ignored, dismissed. Then I thought about what I'd built. Not just the lot, not the money, the quiet, the peace that came from no longer needing their approval. At the shop the next morning, Daniel handed me a cup of coffee. You look lighter, he said. I sold gravity, I said. Didn't need it anymore. He grinned. What'll you do next? I looked at the sunrise bleeding over the food trucks, people setting up for the breakfast rush. Keep building, but this time, for me. He nodded, and I realized the fight was finally over. Not because I'd won, but because I didn't need to fight anymore. If there's a moral, it's this. When people hand you nothing, build a foundation. When they laugh, let it echo until it sounds like applause. When they ask you to save them, remember who left you to drown. I didn't ruin my family. I just stopped funding their fantasy. And when I walk through Vale's lot at night, with lights swaying above and strangers smiling below, I whisper the same sentence every time. Soft, steady, true. You gave me concrete. I built a kingdom.